Hello and welcome to this new episode of the Values Workshop. Uh, I have a guest that I'm looking forward to speaking to. She's been recommended by another guest and has spoken very highly of her. So I really want to know what's coming up. Let's find out. Hello and welcome to this new episode of the Values Workshop. This series is called Vulnerable Me. Uh, Basically, the idea is to have a free flowing chat where we can discuss vulnerabilities that are peculiar to us and
Mm-hmm.
how we derive strength from the experiences we have about when we tackle these uh, obstacles in our own mind.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free to discuss whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Before I start, uh, can you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Yeah. So I am Sneha Rao, and professionally, I'm a technical writer with Synopsys. And by qualification, I'm an engineer and then an HR, MBA in HR. I'm a gold medalist from Karnataka State Open University. And right now, I'm working as a technical writer with Synopsys for the past 2.5 years. And I'm also the founder director of an NGO called Ananya, a Foundation for Happiness.
Okay. Well, that's quite a uh, achievement loaded background that you have. I myself won awards only in primary school. After that, I thought I had enough for a lifetime. Uh, and but okay, I've been thinking since yesterday what is a new way of approaching. I've been doing this week after week. What kind of question do I want to ask, which uh, covers a larger background for everyone to relate to?
Hmm.
I didn't have an answer, but luckily I read something on philosophy yesterday, and
Hmm.
the idea was most of us keep thinking that purpose is an aim,
Hmm.
and uh, in that statement that I read very loosely, the idea was that it is life demanding from us what our purpose is. So it gave me a perspective that I spoke to somebody for a while about my own learning from reading this and contemplating on this was uh, most times we are so caught up in definitions of who we are that we do not allow ourselves to be our authentic selves. Uh, so you're an engineer, first thing comes, oh, even I've done engineering. Then you said you're a gold medalist, I say, oh, I am not that kind of achiever. That definition is very solid, whereas there is no solid definition to who we actually are.
Yes.
Our purposes are perhaps defined after we are gone. When people talk about us, they'll say, "Okay, this was the kind of purpose, this was the kind of person he was or she was." And in a way, that has been our life's purpose, and it may be loosely defined most of the time, rather than fitting into categories that the world categorizes us while we are uh, engaged in some activity. So, how do you look at this concept? It's just a very loose type of question. Just tell me if it makes sense to you.
Yes, it does. I liked the phrase that you said, the life demands from us.
Yeah.
I very much believe in that phrase because whatever I thought of becoming or whatever I had dreamt of, today I'm, very different from what I had dreamt of. I'm not the person I wanted to be. In the sense, let me start from my education. Till 10th, I was in a convent school. Then my mom wanted me to get into Kendriya Vidyalaya, and I did my 11th and 12th in Kendriya Vidyalaya. She wanted me to either take up engineering or medical. I knew I was not made for engineering, but I did still take it up. There were, difficult years. But then I, passed it out with okay marks. And then I got married. I wanted to work, but I didn't have a chance to work. There were family responsibilities. And then in 2011, I thought that I have to pursue my studies, and that is when I took up MBA and MBA in human resource, because I always thought that I am a people person, which,
Okay.
yes, to some extent I am. I like to be around people, and I took up human resources. And then even after that, there were a gap of few years. But then when I started working, I joined a startup company as an HR manager. I was with three startups as an HR manager, and then somewhere I felt that my learning has come to a standstill, and should I look into different career options? And that is when I got to know that Synopsys has a program called Relaunch Women, and I applied through this program, and there were about 7 to 8 rounds of interview with a written test. I cleared it, and I am back into the technical field. So it's what
Okay.
life demands from us, And today I'm a very, very comfortable technical writer, and I'm loving the job that I'm doing.
Okay. That's wonderful. Uh, while I was not a very good engineer per se, but I found that when I became a writer, an advertising writer, after
Mm-hmm,
a couple of setbacks in my jobs, which I hated because I just didn't like engineering at all, and I just didn't know what to do. Uh, but somehow kept on fumbling and getting demoted, and found the courage to, because I had started writing for friends uh, and also greeting cards at that point of time for a little while, and I found it was more remunerative and a happy space. It wasn't the kind of space that I wanted to be in for a while because a lot of vernacular medium people were running the business. Uh, so it was a difficult thing to keep on explaining what I was thinking, and I wanted to be an English writer. Uh,
mm-hmm.
and what I found was that the happier I became, the more confident I became. There was
Yes,
direct
I.
correlation to the whole thing, and it did not matter how miserable my day was during my job because I could just sit for a little while and write. And then I understood, okay, this is what I want to do. And slowly got into advertising and the works. What I want to ask you is, uh, you did mention that you picked up a job, education in HR because you
Hmm.
thought you were a
MBA.
people's person. And then
Mm-hmm,
again, you decided to do something else. But
mm-hmm.
between that, you actually mentioned that you were working with startups
Yes.
and you thought you were getting stagnant. Now, the moment you use the word startup,
Mm-hmm,
in my head, I saw energy and craziness and willingness to try difficult ideas, uh,
mm-hmm,
walk the path less trodden. Those kind of ideas ran in my head.
mm-hmm,
Stagnancy was a word which was completely contrarian.
mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
can you just
Uh,
explain why was that happening?
yes, let me explain. Experience wise, the startup experience gave me a wholesome learning. There is no second thought about it. Right from managing the resources to, reaching out to different organizations. It was a holistic experience. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And I thank for my experience in startup because I got that kind of an experience. And it somewhere contributes to my confidence today. But why I use the word standstill is most of the HR functions today are outsourced. and I wanted to be a thorough HR manager. But with most of the functions being outsourced, I wasn't getting that kind of experience, say the budgeting experience, or planning the human resources. So somewhere I felt that it kind of was getting monotonous. You onboard people, you manage the resources, plan some training programs for them. I wanted something more. I look for learning always, and that is when I thought, if there is something that could give me that regular learning or challenge for that matter, and technical writing really came up as to my rescue then, because my um, personality as a people person, I is also useful there, because I'm good at collaborating now, because there also I will have to work with people. So that is also put to use, and my technical skills are also put to use.
Okay. Uh, an interesting question came up. You mentioned you're doing something uh, with an NGO regarding happiness,
Yes.
and on the other hand, um, you have worked a lot into spaces which make you uncomfortable. For the time being, is there a correlation?
um Correlation between happiness and not being comfortable, is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, loosely, because your experiences are not fully happy, but now the work that you are trying to do as a you're giving back to society in terms of happiness. Whereas a lot of people I find who I speak to are only complaining about their present state of affairs most of the time, whether it
Yes.
is family or friends or professional life or any other aspect of life. I
Yes.
have found that uh, this is a very myopic view. So, what would you want
Certainly,
to?
Bharti. Yes, there is a relationship between what you're doing and your happiness. If you are not happy with what you're doing, I think um, it is visible that you're not happy in the way you perform, in the way you connect with people, the way you relate to the job that you're doing. It becomes very evident that there is something missing here. And you will get to know gradually, there's a universe calling also. And you will get to know that something is missing. During my tenure as an HR manager, there were many sought after engineers in the semiconductor industry who came up to me and said, Sneha, can you guide us? I want to change my job. I Becoming an engineer was my choice, but then today I want to do something different. I'm not finding that happiness here. So what you do um, can give you happiness or cannot. So it's you figure it out. You have to question yourself and understand, and if the calling comes from within and you are happy today of what you're doing, then that is where they both gel, and you take the path. So when I told you about the foundation, um, that was I think my universe calling, and today reaching out to so many people, educating them about mental health. I'm so happy about it. The response I get when people walk up to me and thank me for what I'm doing, it's there.
Uh, okay, I want to rephrase my question because there is a certain element that I'm pointing towards.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, happiness is a very loose term. It could mean
Mm-hmm.
anything or many things to many people.
Yes.
Unhappiness is more universal. We all understand that something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
is far more true to us in that sense. Like if you are going through a job which is not happy, I can relate. I've had days in my 25, 30 years of working some place where I felt, oh, I wasn't happy for a while. What I find today that a lot of people want knee-jerk solutions in aspiring to get that happiness that they don't seem to be getting presently.
Mhm.
So my question is, how does this relate to happiness for you and your experience where you were doing something that your mother had asked you to do, then you went through family responsibilities, and you uh, picked the pieces of your career and tried to learn something which was dear to you, which again wasn't satisfactory. I am actually seeing what you're not saying. And how did that contribute to this Neha? More than the foundation itself. Foundation is an expression of how you're giving back. But before that, you should have some part of the happiness yourself to give back to anyone.
Yes,
So this
this
jump,
again goes back to the phrase that you said, what life demands from us. What I wanted and what life demanded from me were different things.
yeah,
I wanted to work, but I couldn't work.
yeah,
Now, can I change something? I wasn't able to. I was not. The situations around me were not conducive for me to uh, leave the family and take up a job. So, where can I find my happiness in a situation like that? I found happiness in taking care of my elders. I found happiness in taking care of my two lovely kids. And I said, this is a phase here today. It will pass, and maybe someday I'll be there out working. And I am here working. I found my that part of happiness so in a situation which wasn't under my control. And today I found this happiness also where I wanted to work and I'm working. And going back to my education part of it, I knew I wasn't made for engineering, but then my mom wanted to, so at least my mom is happy. I found happiness in her happiness. And today, look back, um, I am back into that technical field, which is giving me my bread, and I'm finding my happiness there. So that day, maybe I didn't recognize that as something that I wanted to do, or maybe I didn't associate my happiness with it. But today, it is there.
okay,
Again, life is demanding it.
okay. Uh, a little bit of a dark question here. Is it a compromise? Is it really happiness?
um, कुछ हद तक कॉम्प्रोमाइज है, यस। लेकिन अगर मैं अपने आप को कॉम्प्रोमाइज बोलती रहूंगी, इफ आई कीप टेलिंग माई सेल्फ दैट आई एम कॉम्प्रोमाइजिंग, देन it's easier for me to slip into sadness. But if I look at the brighter side of it, then I am taking myself up to the level of happiness.
Uh, okay, I want to probe this a little further and make it difficult for you. Is this escapism?
Escaping from what?
I don't know the truth.
Not really. I am very happy about the decisions I have made, because एक brighter side होता है. um, every challenge that comes up to you, there is a brighter side, and we will have to look at it. अभी कभी कभी लगता है कि if I had taken up a job then, today I would have had about 18 19 years of experience, and I would have been in a senior management position. So when I think of it like that, um, कहीं ना कहीं वो आता है मन में, but then I am very very happy about the fact that I was able to give the quality time to my family. raising up two wonderful kids, being there for them. Um, and I used to go to their school to drop them, pick them up, and the happiness of a child coming to the mother, and hugging them after school time. I think I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Okay, so I have an interesting question here. I wanted to expand on it if you think that what I have understood is right. So there was a happiness that was imagined by you in your younger days that if I become this, I'll be happier. If I get this, I'll be happier. And there is a happiness that life brings to you along with the obstacles and hurdles and all other kinds of challenges that it throws at us.
Yes.
Mm. Are the two kinds of happiness different? If they are, how are they different in your head?
Um, it depends on the way you look at it. If I really have to bring up that difference, then yes, there is a difference. एक happiness वो होगा जो I wanted this and I got this. That kind of a happiness, that satisfaction, that happiness of what you have got, what you wanted. This happiness is something that um, God planned for you. The universe planned for you. There is one energy very superior, and that has been planning this kind of a happiness for me. But towards the end, जो satisfaction वहां मिलता या जो satisfaction यहाँ मिलता, it's there is that element of unknown also. I don't know, maybe if I had got everything that I wanted, I can't say you that I would be 100% happy. I can't say that. There is that unknown factor also there. But here, with what God has chosen for me, uh, today I'm happy.
Okay. I'm sorry. I want to keep picking that bubble a little more. Uh, Say, let's take God out of the equation for a while. Uh, Say you quit your job, you're looking after your family, and you're just accepting the fact that I have to take care of my family today, whatever that time was.
Hmm.
And you manage to do a decent job of it as best as you can without getting into cribbing mode, being equal to what life has offered you. I want to understand that aspect without the element of God because that makes it a freak accident.
Hmm.
If God is fair to you, I may think, oh, he's been unfair to me. I don't want to get into that part of the discussion because
Hmm.
there are people and there are views and there are believers and non-believers and whatever.
I also many times feel that God has been unfair to me.
Well, we'll speak to God after the podcast. Uh, okay, I'll give you my perspective. Uh, I've I've had challenges which are abnormal for most people, and without getting into details, because that itself will take a lot of time. But
Hmm.
disease and death and old age and all kinds of problems that everybody else has in various ways at different points of time. I've also faced in my life people whom I have loved, I have lost, and responsibilities have come when I am not ready for them. And say financial troubles have been there or not there, depending upon whatever the scene has been. I'm saying all of this, I have always liked that space. I have actually liked that space because that's far too real for me. Everything else seems imaginative and a fairy tale-ish view of life. Oh, wish it were like that, wish it were. I like this space, and I like people who like this space as well. Like I'm lucky to have friends who we don't look at upon it as a negative or unfairness or anything at all. It is just life. This is life. This is how this problem has to be looked at. So most of the time, the satisfaction of dealing with life as it is in that moment has been enough without even the crutch of God at any point of time. Because if there is a God, I don't want to mess with him. He can be in his place. Let's handle what we have. There are enough people with enough troubles more than us. Even the world's best scientist at one point of time, Stephen Hawking, had a body that I would not wish upon an enemy. I don't have enemies, but like in a manner of speaking. So the problems could always be worse. Uh, we are living half decent lives. We have enough money. We don't have to sleep on the streets. We have food taken care of. No matter how bad our financial troubles, more or less they fall in place. If we have medical issues and ailing people, we have access to doctors and medicine and hospitals. All kinds of things are available to us. At that point, the one thing that is not available to us is the mind that we bring to the situation. That is the only thing that can be worked on. And that is the only thing that needs to be worked on at every stage of life, according to my experiences so far. So now I'll rephrase the question for you. I wanted to bring that aspect. So when you were taking decisions, okay, I'll give you one example that you shared, that at least my mom was happy. I was happy that I could make her happy. Now, this is not a small thing to say. At any point, all of us are selfish, independent human beings concerned with only one happiness, which is our own. And it
Yes.
is only when we are we are comfortable with what our lot is, we are willing to do something for whoever. Initially, we do it for our own family, and if then we are lucky and our ability to rise above our limited circles, then we can do something for the world, which is something which you are trying right now. Because you've come to a point where you've seen suffering of different kinds, and you have accepted, you have acted, and the answer in my head was to have come to happiness for happiness sake rather than one kind of happiness that will make you happy. So my question to you is from here. Every time you took this decision, what within you made you confident that you would see through this time? Because the
Okay.
time was not as per your convenience or your happiness.
Yes.
What
Uh,
kept you going?
the discretion of good and bad, right and wrong is very clear in my head. And I always kept choosing the good and right. And when you choose good and right, you know, uh, I don't, it's my personal experience. You can't be sad about it.
Exactly.
You can't be sad about the good and right. I had to take care of my family members. That's the good part of it. I did. I gave my best. I had to take care of my kids. I gave my 100% and I'm happy about it. So even though the sadness of not doing a job was there, at the end of the day, at the end of all these years, I am a very satisfied soul.
Exactly.
I can stand in front of God, look, into his eyes and tell him that I have done the good and the right. That
Absolutely.
is what makes me happy.
Yes. That is what I wanted to hear because uh, my problem with the concept of God itself is that a lot of us think that provided there is an entity who's looking into our affairs and is constantly following what we are doing, then he loves psychopaths for us. So I don't agree with that point of view. Then he cannot be a God or that power cannot be there. It is a fair power. If it gives us trouble, we deserve it to start. There is no question in my head on that. In I follow a Buddhist practice of vipassana. We call it karma most of the time. Karma is also much misunderstood. A lot of us, uh, when somebody whom we don't like goes down, we say it's karmic without realizing that, well, karma is not vengeful. It is just a linear way of looking at things where whatever you sow, you shall reap. There's not much uh, ambiguity there. You said it yourself that I will look at whatever entity, God, in the eye because of what I did. You took a call, you're taking responsibility for it. To me, that is a factor that clinches everything. Because that satisfaction can only come from your mindset and your ability to work with your mind, irrespective of the fact that some parts of your mind might not be happy at that. Initially, the
Yes.
mind is fairly scattered. So,
Even now, as I sit here, Bunty, it's been since we spoke about the foundation, it's been 6 months that I lost my daughter,
oh, okay.
my 16-year-old daughter to suicide.
Oh,
Now, जो भी झगड़ा है भगवान के साथ वो है,
hmm,
right? But through this foundation, I am trying to spread that awareness around mental health, tell people, about the importance of reaching out in time. And when people come to me and tell me that, Sneha, you are doing a great job, will I feel happy? Somewhere, yes. But will my pain go away? No.
hmm,
I have been talking to students who come to me and tell me that, ma'am, I felt much better after talking to you. Thank you for telling me that I am precious. Will I feel happy? Yes, I do feel happy that I made the child feel better.
yeah.
I made the child realize that he or she is precious. But will the pain of losing my own child go away? Never.
Hmm. I am unsure about the word never, uh, because never is never applicable. Although I appreciate, uh, it's very easy to use words, so I will not demean your pain by giving any quick fix solution or something like that. Everybody has to live through that, and uh, I do not know what is a good way to die. Honestly, there is always going to be pain unless one is ready for it all the time. That is something that I think we are all trying to work where we are happy every moment, so that as much as possible that we spread what we have. Yesterday itself, the same line of philosophy I was discussing with my kid. Uh, she's 14 now, and it was the way it was put was quite heavy handed. So I had to kind of explain every line to her and come to that. And of late, she keeps thinking, what is a career that will give me the happiness? You keep saying, okay, once you had that high, oh, there's never any other moment like that. Now she's searching for that evasive uh, aha moment that her father had. When I became a writer, I realized, oh, wow, it is such a beautiful moment. Uh, Yet I told her, in trying to talk to her and trying to explain, one of the lines that I loved about what came from me was at that point, if you are happy, then you take happiness everywhere you go. And
Yes,
if you are not
absolutely.
happy, then you are always looking for an event, a person, or something to make you happy. That will always leave it to chance.
Yes,
So my suggestion to you is don't pressurize yourself in trying to get a certain kind of happiness because life may not desire the same thing. But that does not mean that you become unhappy. You can try for that kind of happiness, but be happy now when whatever you have in your hand at this point of time uh, is the right way to be. I lost my wife around a year and a half earlier, and she was ailing for around. 8, 9 years. He knew that she was not going to make it. So I have been speaking to my daughter about that since she was 8. When I read that Bhutan is the happiest country in the world, and they have this theory of talking to kids when they are 8 about death, and that is one of the primary factors that those kids are fairly uh, acclimatized to that idea of losing. I loved that idea, and immediately I told her, okay, look, mom might not make it, and that seems to be the story. And while we are trying that this may not happen, but right now doctors seem to be saying that this might happen. And she said, yeah, but I already know this. I was like, okay. So kids are so natural, they understand. I think one of the things that I am realizing is this pressure of being adult, being put so early. In fact, most adults are not adults. As far as I'm concerned, we are all overgrown kids most of the time. Very few people you meet, you feel have the maturity to deal with loss and death and disease and suffering in all its ways. And I think it's a tragedy that we are not equal to the task. With all the brains and the kind of mind that we have, I think that should be the basic first thing that we should know. Okay, this is happening. Since the day we are born, the only thing that we are sure of is that everything will leave us. There has never
Definitely.
been any promise by any kind of God, any kind of scripture that it will be otherwise. Then it is foolish on our parts to imagine that it will be otherwise. It cannot be. And while we are, matlab, even your sadness is something that once you live with it in the true sense, it is going to transform. It becomes dull kind of sadness as you go along, and at some point it doesn't even remain sadness. It seems so perfect that you don't want to touch it. Even though the happening itself may not be liked, and you will say, yes, given a choice, I would not make that happen. But you'll be fairly okay with it and appreciate it for what it is. But it is a journey. We cannot have
Yes.
quick fix solutions to anything, and you say, okay, we press this switch, and today onwards happiness is on. You have to work on your happiness. And by work, I mean stay with your truth. You have had moral values and you've always stood by the right. So, what is right? What is happening is the rightest thing because it is life. It is not us. It is not
Yes.
anybody who's making it happen. It's just there. Now, how do we make our peace with it in the journey most of the time? Most of the time, I'm sure it's true for you, it's true for me. While I'm sounding very clever, there are days when you feel like, "Okay, man, it's too much. But you can't do much. So you cry, you get up, you work. And that's the maximum that you can do. Okay, this is the only time available to you. So in that space, I think, yeah, I would want you to give me your final thoughts on something that you want to say at this point of time.
Um, I don't have much here. I'm actually blank. I really don't know what to say, Bunty.
Okay. Um, Thank you for joining me on this podcast. It's been a very pensive end, and I like this end because it kind of puts us both in a spot where we are we've run out of words. Again,
Yes.
life wins. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope it helps many out there who need to hear this. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Bunty.
much.
Thank you for bringing me on your podcast. Thanks for giving me this opportunity.